Hello and welcome to the Warhammer Podcast, episode 223. I'm your host, Brad. This is my co-host, Eric.
How's it going?
And on this week's episode, have you ever wanted to play 40k with your friends on the same team, fighting the odds?
Yes, I have.
Well, then do we have the format for you? Today we are going to be discussing Horde Mode for Warhammer 40,000 11th edition, the beta test. It's mostly working. It's not 1.0 yet.
Sounds good.
All right, so for our longtime audience members, Horde Mode is back. It is ready for 11th edition prime time. Everything is updated and beautiful and working until you find something wrong, but that's why it's not 1.0 yet.
All right, so let's get the sales pitch, the elevator pitch for what Horde Mode actually is.
Okay, so do you like COD zombies? Well, that's probably too dated of a reference. Do you like Helldivers? Playing with your friends, just like destroying waves of enemies? Will you and your friends get together on a Saturday and drink and do some missions and just generally hang out?
That does sound like fun, but generally not the same expectation for 40k. It's usually a more cutthroat 1v1 competitive style thing.
Well, thanks to Horde Mode, not anymore. Horde Mode, at the end of the day, it plays a lot like a Helldivers, a COD Zombies, your classic co-op game, Left 4 Dead, because I'm old now.
Right, where it's just you and your friends versus an enemy, a horde.
Notably, this means like a zombie horde, not like in 40k where horde means many small models. This means many dumb things.
To do this on the tabletop, the enemy needs to have some AI style thought, and it turns out we can make it really dumb and just kind of a simple checklist of do this, then that, which leads to a very zombie-like mentality.
And Horde Mode's also nice because it's a good way to get a lot of 40k's mechanics practiced. It lets you teach new players in a setting that's a lot more casual friendly, and you don't feel bad giving advice to the new person. You're also trying not to win too hard.
Yeah, it is a lot easier to like actually play with the open information and like helping, as opposed to being like, we're gonna play a game, but also I'm gonna help you a lot. So co-op definitely helps, but also if your play group just has like a large gap between the experience on the players, like some could be playing for years and go to tournaments, but one or two other players have only really play every couple months or whatever, it's a lot easier to have both of you team up against an opponent AI type thing as opposed to having that mismatch experience.
Yes, Horde Mode is really good for that, especially as like more serious players who get a lot more reps in than the majority of our audience. Horde Mode's nice for a place to build a fun, fluffy list, know that you can rely on each other and yell at each other, all of the classic co-op moments, and not worry too much.
And there is an amount of narrative element. This is 11th edition. We're focusing on the narrative.
That's why Crusade is gone.
But because it's co-op and because of how we've set up the rules where like, you know, certain things happen and there's additional rules on top of the game, there's more potential for a narrative to just like naturally expand throughout the game.
Yeah, and the best part of Horde Mode is I'm not selling it to you because it is a free community game mode. I have worked on this for far too long. I have had many people help at this point. It is all free for everybody to enjoy, mutate to their desires, go wild with it.
Yeah, there should be links in the show notes to the Discord for Horde Mode and hopefully also some of the like PDF rules or whatever.
And before we get further into this and we discuss in detail Horde Mode, I have to shout some people out. First of all, Riker Greenslade and Digital Beef. Between Riker Greenslade and Digital Beef, they have submitted over 1,000 combined formatting fixes, typo fixes, rules updates because I got an edge case wrong in how it would interact with a core rule in 11th edition, all sorts of stuff. An insane amount of work editing with me.
Yeah, technical writers are actually really useful when you're putting together rules.
And I am not one, as both of them can attest to with the amount they have had to fix my grammar and formatting. Also, huge shout out again, Digital Beef. One of the things they've done previously is back in 10th edition, in the 1.0 days of 10th edition, they made community spawning tables that they were upkeeping basically through the end of 10th 10th edition so that after I was role-playing your father and went out for milk for a year and change, the community had access to updated spawn tables of new units that were added to the game and all that. Now, in 11th edition, Digital Beef spawn tables are just the spawn tables. They were nicer formatted. They look a hell of a lot better than what I made. And as a last shout out, Jordan from Slam Sector, during this episode, you'll see a bunch of cool cards appearing on the screen, and there will be a nice PDF version of the Horde Mode rules that look a lot better than the Google Doc, which is the version I made. Those were made by Jordan, so please go give him some love over on Slam Sector. And as a special bonus, Slam Sector is going to be hosting a demo game live over on their channel on YouTube on July 13th. So please make sure to go check it out. Subscribe to them if you haven't. They're a really nice battle report, sort of podcast episodes and everything type of channel. Big fans of their work. Give them some love.
Yeah, they've got some battle reports for previous editions of Horde Mode. But with that all set up, let's actually get into how to play Horde Mode.
All right, let's start off with the very beginning, army construction. So Horde Mode is updated for 11th edition. That means we're going to do the cheat code of, say, build your army following the rules in the app. That's how 11th edition works now. We don't have to write out rules anymore.
Which, I mean, that is quite nice. It's always good when we can have the core rules of 40K work for this, but I feel like there might be a little bit more to it just because, like, this is co-op. If we're going to play a 1K game or a 2K game, what about force disposition? Like, there's got to be more to it.
All right, so a more in-detail version. You choose either 1,000 points or 2,000 points, and then you will split between your player count, that amount of points rounded down. So if we've got 3 players playing 1,000 points, everyone gets 333 points.
Okay, simple enough.
But for your detachment points, you get the full amount you would get for that game size. So if you're playing a 2,000 point game, 2-player, you and I each get 1,000 points to work with, but you still get 3 detachment points.
That's pretty nice. So you don't have to worry about, like, how do I have a third of a detachment point?
Yeah, that's why we did this. It's going to be based on game size.
Okay.
You must have a warlord be a valid list in the 11th edition rules, but other than that, those are the only requirements. In previous versions of Horde Mode, you couldn't have enhancements in your army list. That is gone now. You are allowed enhancements at army building, but I will warn you that you can get them mid-game, so spending points on them isn't usually the wisest strategy, but if you want a beginning of game enhancement, like a redeploy one or whatever, you have access to it now.
So, I mean, it really is just make a normal list, but like few caveats on like how you actually might want to choose. All right, so we have our lists, we've got our models. What about the rest? Like, we've got a horde that we got to figure out. How do we set the table up, mission and stuff?
All right, let's go through the way you're going to set up the game. First, we need to choose a deployment. So luckily with 11th edition, you can check out the event companion that is on Warhammer Community's download page. This includes all sorts of layouts. So pick one that you like. I recommend one that's using Hammer and Anvil or one that's using Dawn of War. I recommend those because of how we spawn the horde and the way the horde spawning zones work. It is easier if it's a nice big rectangle to work with. Once you're more experienced, any of them work. Now, when we choose one of these deployments, we're going to set it up with the terrain layouts where it tells you to, with 2 exceptions. In both deployment zones, you do not place any terrain. If terrain footprints are touching the deployment zones, don't place them.
Okay, but all the no man's land gets placed?
All of no man's land does get placed. Once all of the no man's land terrain has been placed, then where there should be a terrain piece with the home objectives, you are going to use a pair of objective markers. The circles aren't dead, Eric.
Hey, nice. You can buy some poorhammer.com.
So there is some neat tech in the core rulebook. There is rules for objective markers still. You can find it on page 88 of your core rules if you haven't read it yet. 10th edition objective markers work in 11th edition, and we make good use of them in Horde Mode because objectives can be upgraded to terrain objectives or can be destroyed and turned back into normal objectives, deleting the terrain if you airstrike it. Lots of cool tech in 11th edition with Horde Mode.
That's always nice to have the objective markers back, but what do we do then? then.
That's it for the table setup portion. I will warn, there's no force disposition for the Horde, so there's no like matchups or anything. It's just, you just pick a layout. Don't worry about that. The point of the layout is to get terrain into no man's land and to have a general overview of what your deployment zone should look like.
The most simple style to start with. So, I mean, then you got to figure out attackers and defenders.
Well, luckily that's easy with Horde mode because the Horde is the attacker. Done.
All right. I mean, that does make narrative sense. Yeah.
The next step then is to create Horde spawn zones. In 1,000 points, there's 2 of them. In 2,000 points, there's 4 of them. And you just take whatever your deployment zone is for the Horde. This is why we say to use one of the ones with a nice big rectangle, and you cut it into 4 equal areas. And hopefully on the YouTube video, we can show a nice example of this from our game last weekend. It is as basic as you can think of. Like, it's just take your rectangle, cut it into 4 pieces.
So the Horde spawn zones that we're dividing here, those are like where the units for the Horde are going to spawn in.
Yes. This is just a way for us to randomize what appears so that you can have ebbs and flows in the combat and all that. But we'll get into the rules of how we spawn them in a bit.
Okay.
Then you shuffle up 3 different decks, the Misery deck, the Secret Objective deck, and the Secondary Mission deck. We'll talk about those later, but basically miseries are things that make the game worse for you. Secret objectives are your secret mission for you specifically to win the game in Horde mode, and secondary missions are basically the quests you're doing along the way during the game.
Yeah, we'll get into the more specifics of those individual decks later. But I mean, you did bring up the secret objectives are like how you win. Does that mean that like it's a variable amount of time to win, or like are we still doing 5 rounds?
So technically you can play infinite rounds if you want, which is just play till you lose. You could think of it as like the Project Zomboid opening. This is the story of how you died, whatever.
Yeah, that is always the entertaining of like you do lose, you do fail. Here's the story.
But a traditional game of Horde mode is 5 rounds still. So assuming that you're playing the normal 5-round variant, the secret objectives are basically your private mission that you have to win the game. Each player, even though you're a cooperative team, mostly, each player will have their own secret objective that is for them alone. Like your mission from high command that these other groups you're temporarily working with don't know about. Some of them are simple, some of them are helpful to your allies, some of them cause friction, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, but we'll go a bit more into that later, I think, because there are some very interesting ones. I think that more or less sets us up. The only question that's still on my mind is like, we have a Horde spawn that, you know, like, okay, this is where units are going to spawn, but like, what faction are we supposed to use for it? Because like, it's a Horde, so like Tyranids, right? But what if we don't have Tyranids?
So there is rules in Horde mode for any faction. Pick your favorite that you've got spares of.
I can use Imperial Knights as a Horde.
Yes, you can. Now, Knights is a good example of one of our other rules. This was added later in 10th edition. You don't have to pick only one faction for the Horde. So the rules allow for you to pick any number of factions, but it's assumed you're probably just going to use one because it's easier to keep track of.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. It's also like a narrative thing of like you're teaming up with somebody to deal with this singular problem or whatever. But there are going to be limitations to like the physical models that you have access to. So like, yeah, maybe you need to use a few factions just so you have enough to actually spawn.
Yeah, so in our game this weekend, for example, Eric played Grey Knights, I played Demons, and we chose for the Horde to be Necrons.
Classic matchup.
The classic duo, Demons and Grey Knights, well-known allies.
Facing off against Necrons? Yep.
Yeah, that's what Grey Knights are known for. They're the spacemen who are really good at fighting Xenos. Real Warhammer lore. But if you, let's say, don't have enough Necrons to spawn something, then you could always just dip into your Space Marines or dip into any of your other factions your playgroup has access to. Between you and your friends, there is probably some models not sitting in play.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's reasonably common when you buy like a combo box and it's primarily for one part of that combo box and the other Space Marines are just sitting there because the orcs are cooler.
Everyone's got a couple thousand points of Space Marines laying around in their playgroup. We all know it. You got them somewhere. I don't know who's got them, but one of you got them.
All right. We can just kind of choose whatever else is extra in your models.
Yeah, for a general rule of thumb, I would say have enough points in whatever you choose for your Horde to be about twice the size of the game. So like 4,000 points of models at a 2K game, or about 2,000 points of models if you're playing a 1K game. And again, it can be more than one faction making that pool up.
All right. So, I mean, is that kind of it? We're ready to start playing round one, go?
I guess before we start, technically, we spawn the Horde before round one now in 11th edition. This lets it interact with certain army rules and other rules. So let's go through how we actually spawn the Horde.
Okay. I assume that the zones that we created are going to be quite integral.
Yes. So spawning the Horde is pretty simple. It looks a little scary because there's a table involved, but it's not bad. So basically, you point at your first spawn zone. Technically, there's a step where you destroy anything that is within the zone, and then you will roll 2d6. You add modifiers to this 2d6 roll. There are ways to like increase spawn rolls in the game. Once you've rolled your 2d6, you will end up with a modified value that you then go to the spawn table for your Horde that you've chosen and look up a legal unit to place in. If you don't have one, or you roll like a really high roll and instead of putting in like a giant monster, you want to put in a horde of smaller stuff, then you can do what's called rolling down the results. For an example, in our game this weekend, we did our initial rolls. We were playing a 2K game. We had 4 spawn zones. So we rolled and the Necrons got a 10 in the first zone. So we looked it up on the table and a Transcendent Catan was in the list. So I grabbed a Transcendent Catan off the shelf and I put it into play. The next spawn zone, I rolled a 6. 10 flayed ones is in the 5 to 6 pool. So we went over and grabbed 10 flayed ones and put them into the spawn zone.
And when you're choosing, so like the 10 plus, you know, it's kind of just like pick whatever you have access to sometimes. But in this example, a 6 has several possibilities that you can choose. You can just choose one of them, whatever you have access to. That's easy and accessible, which were the flayed ones for us.
Yep. And then the next zone, we rolled an 8. But I looked at it and I said, I want more stuff in play. So we did what's called rolling down. So instead of picking something from the 7 to 9 table, you can pick 2 things from the table below it. And then technically you could repeat this process. If you want to roll an 11 and put just a hilarious amount of gaunts in play when you're playing Tyranids, that's an option.
It is an option, but also it has to fit in the spawn zone.
It doesn't. The rules have overflow things too, just in case.
Oh my.
We've been asked every question under the sun at this point. In this example, though, we rolled an 8, so I looked at the table below it, and I found that 5 Lich Guards with a leader attached was a legal one from the 5 to 6, and 6 Scorpek Destroyers was a legal one from 5 to 6. So for our 8, we put in 6 Scorpeks, 5 Lich Guards being led by an Overlord, and boom, there you go. Now, for our last one in the example here, we rolled a 9, and somehow, I just don't own enough Necrons, Eric.
Yeah.
I don't know how we just couldn't find enough Necrons here.
Right, this bookshelf of Necrons. We couldn't find one.
So in that case, we went over and found a Space Wolf Redemptor Dreadnought that was laying around, dusted it off, and put it into play instead.
All right. So each of the spawn zones have been populated with the Horde units. I mean, that's reasonably simple. I guess like you could probably, if you had access to everything in the table, you could just like randomly roll a die. But
I honestly don't like advising that though.
yeah,
I think that the narrative is part of it.
I agree.
One of our favorite things in our play group, this one happened last edition when we were playing. Our one buddy was complaining because we put a Haruspex in and he was complaining about having to fight it. He finally got it killed. We rolled for the next turn and we got the table the Haruspex is in.
Yeah.
So of course, instead of getting something new, we placed a new Haruspex down in its place. That's the beauty of a co-op game right there.
It can be entertaining.
So I think just picking randomly is less fun than just feeling out what feels right to you guys.
I'm in total agreement on that. It's definitely more fun to choose from the list.
And in this spawning example, and in many of the other cases in the rules, we keep certain things open to interpretation so that if you have to ask a question, would the Horde do this or would it do this more clever play? In general, it's probably going to do the dumb thing. But if you're a bunch of tryhards and you need something to challenge you, you can always just do the better thing. Instead of randomly picking a rule to turn on, you just turn on the one that's the worst for you if it were to happen. There's a lot of stuff like that in the rules to play with difficulty-wise to help more experienced playgroups because, again, the mode is for everybody, so it's much more casual focused. If you need more stress because you're just too good, then there is ways in the rules, including an add-on we'll talk about at the end, to make this more difficult for yourself. yourself so that you get a bit of challenge.
You do say that, but there is always potential for you to roll poorly and the horde to spawn a bunch of scary stuff and lose. So like if you end up losing, it's not necessarily like a skill issue. You could just be up against a difficult horde. But yeah, there are ways to definitely make the horde scarier. So we've got the basics of spawning figured out. Turn 1.
Sure. So now we can actually play the game. Horde mode plays like a game of 11th edition with a couple exceptions. In the rules, we have the playing the game portion that goes into detail and explains everything at like the exact level that the core rulebook does for how we're altering the game. At a high level, to run you through it, you're playing a game of 11th edition, except you do not gain command points naturally. You start with 2 of them. Those are your only command points, except there's obviously a way to get them still. Instead of your normal getting one every turn, you can either pay supply points for them, which we'll talk about in a minute, or you could technically still generate them with abilities that generate command points. And there is no cap on command point generation, so go wild if you want to make a funny list that just generates a ton of command points.
All right.
The horde always goes first. The horde does not get detachment rules or army rules or any of that. It's only got its data sheet abilities and the faction rules that horde mode itself has. We have a table of them. So for example, when we played against Necrons, instead of getting the much more complicated to deal with reanimation protocols that we just don't want to have the Necrons deal with, Necrons in horde mode get a simple rule. It's called We're So Back. And horde Necron non-character infantry, beast, and swarm models have a feel no pain 5-up. Functionally, it's very similar to how reanimation protocols work, like from a math standpoint. It is a close enough equivalent. It gives Necrons a very strong buff because, again, we try to balance horde mode so that the things you're putting into play are going to play mostly like they would with much more complicated rules.
Yeah, I mean, they're like thematic. One of the ones being like world eaters. Trying to figure out the blessings of Khorne. It's annoying. So instead, the horde just gets world eater units have +2 to movement, which feels so much more world eaters as a general idea.
It is something that technically is like a base part of their rule, and it's something that's just thematic to, look, they're a melee focused horde. They're going to need help getting into combat, so give them movement.
Yeah.
There's a whole table for every faction in the game to give them a faction ability for being the horde.
Yeah, and I figure you would choose whatever is the most prevalent of your horde units that you have access to.
Yes. Technically, if you wanted, you can activate every one for every unit type you bring in. This is a nightmare to keep track of, which is why we don't advise it and we say, look, just pick your main one and use it. And then there is the other main part of the game, which is supply points and the resupply step. So the command phase gets an extra step added to it after battle shock called the resupply step. This is where you basically do your upgrades, your calling in airstrikes from Helldivers, Call of Duty zombies, upgrading your defenses and getting your better stuff, right?
I feel like I have the word boons in my mind, but I don't know what that's from.
Boons are a thing in like Hades.
Yeah, that's where it's from. But yeah, beneficial things.
But to use the resupply step, obviously we need some points. So we have supply points added to the game. They are a separate thing from command points, and you gain them through actions throughout the game and can use them in the resupply step. Other than that, every player will have their secret objective they are trying to accomplish. If it's a naughty one, hopefully no one figures out what it is and you can pretend you have a different one. So for each battle round, we're going to have to reveal however misery cards we get told to. For instance, you will always on the second battle round reveal 1 misery card minimum. But if we failed our secondary mission on turn 1, then chances are we're going to end up with more misery cards put into play.
And I mean, as the turns go, it gets worse.
So for example, let's say we're on battle round 2 and we draw the misery card Unfettered Fury, which says horde units have sustained hits 1 and lethal hits 1. There's a simple one that is quite annoying.
Yeah, definitely.
Or you could get one that's also a little bit annoying, which is Hotter Shots. Horde units ranged attacks have Melta 1.
Yeah, there's definitely some potential scary misery cards.
I just want to enjoy the idea of giving like Orc Shootas Melta 1, or every Tau Fire Warrior having Melta 1 on their guns. And then we're going to have to reveal our secondary mission for the round, which will have either rewards if we do it right or punishments if we do it wrong. For a very clear example, we have clear the evac zone. The condition is no no Horde units are within the defender's deployment zone at the end of the battle round. That should be a very easy battle round 1.
Yeah.
So if we get that one on battle round 1, then our reward, if we get it right, is 3 supply points to every player. If you're playing single player and everyone gets something, you get double. This is a balance thing for single player.
Yeah, because it definitely is easier for more players just because of things like this, of like the whole team gets each 3 supply points.
Yeah, but if we fail to meet our condition, then we end up with a punishment. In this case, the punishment reads, reinforcements arrive is removed from the SP purchase table, which is one of the things you can purchase in the resupply step. So it just permanently removes one of your options. It is a very bad one to fail.
There's definitely some secondary missions that are easier than others, and they change depending on where you're at in the game.
Then after we have our secondary mission for the round, we spawn the Horde, which we follow the steps we talked about before.
All right, and we skipped that battle round 1 because like it's already been done pre-game, but this is when it would happen battle round 2 and forward.
Yeah, so then there is an increase in difficulty over the battle rounds. Battle round 1 doesn't have any misery cards by default. Battle round 2 has 1 by default. In battle round 3, it is you get a misery card and +1 to spawn rolls.
Okay.
This doesn't sound like much, but with how statistics work and the way the spawn table is set up, this means a lot of things are in a higher bracket, meaning you get a lot more points put into play each turn.
Does that mean that we also can't snake eyes for free?
No, that is covered in the rules. A 2 is always no spawn.
Okay.
But you still get 1 misery card in battle round 3 as well. And then battle round 4 is again +1 to spawn roll and a misery card. Then battle round 5 is +2 to spawn rolls and 3 misery cards. The reason for this is like the last time the Horde is going to get to do something. This will be the turn where you're trying to do your final things to make sure you get your secret objective done. So this is to really spice up the last moments of the game.
All right, makes sense. And also, like, if you're going infinite kind of thing, this is going to get out of hand.
Good luck. So then we do our battle round. The Horde goes first, then we go, and then we do at the end of the battle round our resolving of our secondary missions. And we figure out, did we succeed at the condition or did we fail? And we either get our bonus or our punishment.
All right, so that's kind of like the final cleanup step, as it were. So we get supply points from the missions, but like, are there other ways that we actually can get these things?
Yes. So supply points, you get 1 for the entire team for every objective controlled by a player.
So like each player on the team gets 1.
Yes. So if the team combined has I own a point and you own 2 points, we both get 3 supply points.
Okay.
There is also a reward for destroying a Horde unit, because I mean, that's kind of the point of playing a game like this. The player who destroys the Horde unit gets 1 supply point.
Okay, so that one is not team share. It's whoever got the kill gets it.
Yes. Importantly, that means in single player, this one doesn't get doubled up.
And kill stealing is a real thing.
And kill stealing is a real thing. This is the fun of co-op, isn't it?
It can be, yeah, definitely. All right, so I mean, that's the general layout of the turns, especially for us. But the Horde has to do something. Like, we've spawned them. They need their intelligence to move and shoot and fight. How do we do that?
I'm going to read you my designer note out of the rules, specifically so you understand the point of the Horde AI. This is an attempt to make a simple set of rules to pilot the Horde in a way on par with general zombie AI in video games. We don't want this to be overly complicated. It should feel intuitive. You should not need to continue checking these rules after a game of piloting the Horde. Your natural instincts should be correct at that point. It is a simple zombie AI. For people in the audience who know programming, some A-star pathfinding.
All right, so I mean, just like going through the like cascading choices that the Horde has to make.
All right, here's the gist of it. The Horde utilizes all datasheet abilities it can. If you have to choose something, it can be chosen at random or just choose what you believe is best. Again, it depends on the group. If they have scout on their datasheet, then after they spawn in, they can move their scout distance. All of the classic stuff. Then during movement, they have a very simple movement AI. In order of importance, they will move towards the closest visible enemy. If there isn't a closest visible enemy for them to move towards, they will move to the closest visible objective not controlled by another Horde unit already, and ignoring the one in the Horde spawn zone. And then if none of that is possible somehow, they will just move towards the defender player's board edge.
All right. I mean, pretty simple.
Zombie walk forward, try to eat you.
And I mean, there's going to be some caveats to the walk forward always kind of thing. And there are rules for flying, like heavy, those types of keywords get special rules. But like, I don't think we have to go too in depth into that.
Basically, it does the thing you think it should. It advances if it's correct for it to advance.
If it has assault and like whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. We have rules for things like disembarkation, just in case you have to disembark from a transport. We tried to think of everything.
Yeah, I mean, that seems pretty obvious for a lot of them. Just kind of like do the simple thing, which I guess leads us to shooting.
Yeah, shooting is as simple as we get it. They shoot at the closest legal target with a couple exceptions. They basically try to make use of their keywords. If they have anti-X on something, or now the new mysterious X Hunter, if that starts showing up in 11th edition codices, it's already in the rules, ready for it.
Hunter X Hunter mentioned.
Hunter mentioned, final chapter already been read, give up.
Yeah.
Hiatus.
Oh.
Anyway, it will shoot at the keyword that is relevant. So if it has anti-monster, it's shooting at the closest monster it can see if it can see one. If it's got precision, it targets something with a character. If it's got melta, then it attempts to shoot non-infantry, non-swarms first, just to try to make it more useful.
Okay.
It's basically working the way you would expect. Shoot close as visible. If it's a specialist type of unit, target the thing it should be specializing in.
Makes sense. So then charge, I assume, is just unga bunga, whatever you can, right?
Yeah, we do have exception cases. So like you're not going to have the Tau Horde charge because it only has close combat weapons equipped.
That makes sense.
All of that is covered. But yeah, it basically just tries to charge. So it's going to roll a charge roll and try to get into combat with as much as it can.
And then like pile in, consolidate, all that stuff is just like...
It's going to do exactly what little Timmy would do. It piles in as far as it can. It hits with as much as it can. It consolidates as much as it can. You get the point. It should be very simple to pilot the Horde AI. You can actually, if you want, like you've got an extra person who doesn't want to play in the co-op part, but wants to like be generally helpful, they could pilot the AI for you. There's nothing stopping that. This is something that we've done before when someone's like, I don't really want to pay too much attention to the game, but I can help out with like moving around the Horde stuff for everybody.
It's honestly kind of fun because like it's so chill because like you don't actually make that many decisions. You just kind of follow the thing and do the stuff, and it's like, oh yes, I'm just moving models around on the table and I can make pew pew sounds.
Yeah, it's good for your friend who pre-gamed a little too hard.
Yeah, that's true.
We're thinking of the same person in our head.
Maybe.
But after the game is done, we have to figure out who wins and loses. And that's kind of the last major thing we've got to talk about here. Well, other than all the cool parts.
Yeah, we'll go into the decks and like cool options for the different cards and resupply tables. But yeah, I guess finishing the like gameplay part, winning and losing.
So there's like paragraphs explaining this in detail in rules legalese standpoints. But basically, you have a secret objective. Do your secret objective. If you do it right, you win. You probably also have to survive to the end of the game, unless it says otherwise.
Yeah, it is pretty simple. It's kind of your secret objective says if you win or not.
Some of these are very simple, like hold the line, end the game with no Horde units in the defender's deployment zone. That's a simple one right there. Team player, end the game with all players surviving. That one has a related one though, that's two birds, one stone. End the game with at least one player not surviving.
So on that, I think we've kind of gone through the basics. We're going to go into like some of the actual tables here that are fun and exciting to talk about. In the secret objectives table, there are tags, and one of them is trader. The two birds, one stone has the trader tag.
Yes, it also has the multiplayer tag. The multiplayer tag means it's for multiplayer games. If you're in single player, you take out the multiplayer cards because you can only do certain objectives. But if your playgroup does not like friction, if you have a bunch of people who just really don't like when someone is the secret asshole, you could remove the traitors. Or you could remove some of the traitors and keep other ones that are kind of funny.
Yeah, because there are some trader secret objectives that are like actively annoying. Whereas others are just like, oh yeah, I made a decision that was like slightly off from optimal, but like it's not that big of a deal. I do think having the trader objectives in the pool for randomly picking is more fun, but totally understandable if you don't want to deal with it.
I have to say that over the course of updating Horde Mode throughout 10th edition and now 11th, if there's one thing basically everyone who has played it agrees on, it's that trader secret objectives tend to be the most fun. They are usually very passive passive trader things, like things that you don't have to actively scuttle the game to accomplish, but things that your friend might be annoyed that you did.
So like the two birds, one stone, and the game with at least one other player not surviving is like an actively annoying one. You are kind of trying to ruin the game, but there are other ones that are just like supervisor is keep a tally of the amount of horde units destroyed by yourself and a second tally of the number of horde units destroyed by all other players combined. Reveal the secret objective when the amount of horde units you have destroyed is at least 4 less than the amount destroyed by other players. So it's basically make your team do more.
Yeah, it's basically my day job put as a secret objective.
Yeah. So like that one isn't actively going against the team. You can make a lot of good beneficial decisions without actually getting like confirmed kills on horde units. And that's another one that like their tag is also has a survival required, which means you have to make it to the end of the game.
For an example of another trader one, that it is technically a trader because it is a selfish thing, one of the new ones in 11th edition is all for one. Keep a tally of the amount of time another player uses share supplies targeting you. Reveal this secret objective after the 5th tally, and then you must survive until the end of the game. So basically, you have to leech off somebody else's goodwill.
Yeah. Share supplies is you spend 3 supply points to give another player 2. So yeah, it's a very leech thing, but not actually bad necessarily.
Yeah, and at the same time, it's something where you could work it out and tell someone like, look, I need you to funnel me 10 supply points. I'm going to do a big impressive thing to help us. Are you lying? Partially. You're not saying the whole truth.
Yeah, maybe not necessarily. Like you can still do the big thing that is beneficial, but like
It's an ulterior motive.
yeah, and that's okay. But I mean, there are also normal, I guess, kind of like action style ones, which like action hero is kind of neat.
Yes, this is updated in 11th edition. It used to have a very boring extra clause I managed to get rid of now that actions are back in the game properly this time.
Yeah, which is awesome, just in general.
It really is. It helped a lot in writing rules this time, by the way. Actions wonderfully implemented in 11th.
So action hero is revealed and complete the secret objective after a character unit you own completes any action on a secondary mission. Or reveal the secret objective at the start of your shooting phase during the 3rd battle round or later to get your action during your shooting phase, have a character.
No, Eric, what's the name of the action for action hero?
Put on sunglasses.
Okay, now what's the action?
At the start of your shooting phase, one of your characters wholly within 6 of the center of the battlefield. Once per turn, it completes at the end of the turn. If no horde unit is within 8 inches of that unit, your effect is the secret objective is completed. And so like this is, reveal early type thing of like you can show this to get the action to do the thing.
Yep. So there is all kinds of secret objectives. At the beginning of the game, there's the whole thing where you draw multiple and then you pick one of them. And on the resupply table, if you end up hating your secret objective, there is always a change of plans for 8 supply points to draw 2 additional secret objectives and then pick one of the 3 to keep. So there's always a way if you're like iffy on your secret objective to try trading it out.
Yeah. For the 11th edition update, several of these have been reworked and there's 4 new ones. So if you've previously played Horde Mode, there's some changes and some additions. Do we want to go into the supplies though?
Yes. So supplies have been updated. They're a lot cleaner. There aren't new ones, but 11th edition tech has made this very nice.
So there's a lot of different styles to the effects of the resupply table. It goes from pretty simple to actually kind of complicated. On the pretty simple side, for 2 supply points, basic tactics, gain 1 CP.
Ta-da, we can get command points. It just costs our supply points. This is a fun part of the game for me, which is it makes command points at a premium because the supply point table is very strong. You get a bunch of extra power from supply points, but making you rely less on strat spam, which tended to be the best thing possible in 10th edition, is the downside of getting all your supply points.
Yeah, and we had brought it up quite early in the episode about enhancements during list building, but there's a 1 supply point, a name earned, add either an enhancement to a character without one or an upgrade to a unit without one. 1 SP gets your enhancement. It's not that expensive, so it makes sense, like, don't prioritize that during list building.
And then there's more active stuff that's on the supply table. A classic is Airstrike. This has been here since the first version of Horde Mode. It's been greatly updated though because of 11th edition. Airstrike is 3 supply points. You select a terrain area. Each unit within it suffers 2d3 mortal wounds. Then remove that terrain feature from the battlefield. If the target is a terrain objective, place an objective marker using the rules for objective markers not within terrain area, centered on the position of the missing terrain objective. So you can use this to destroy a piece of terrain and just level it, like gone. And it does a good amount of damage.
Yeah, so that's another thing to note. The table also has tags. This one, airstrike, is tagged as strike. And those are generally like orbital bombardment, airstrike, that kind of nonsense going on. And there's several that go up through the cost as well.
Yes, doing various more naughty things. Now, if you want to do the opposite, let's say, we have defensive positions. This one is probably the longest, wordiest thing here.
I'm glad you decided to bring this one up.
I have to. This is an important rule. So this is how we turn an objective marker into a terrain objective. Unfortunately, I had to write out how you place terrain. It takes a lot of words. But let me read it to you as the design note. This is 4SP, and from a designer note standpoint, it says, make a ruin. Don't place walls on bases. If you make it over an objective marker, remove the marker and use the area terrain objective rules for the objective instead. That's literally what you do. You're placing down a terrain area using basically any of the 11th edition footprints you want or whatever, or like a 9x9. I give multiple ways you can do it depending if you don't like footprints or if they change, and you basically place 11th terrain on it.
It is complicated and looks overwhelming, but the designer's note is basically like, just place the thing.
Just place a ruin.
Don't be dumb.
It's a lot of words because I made it actually correct to the core rules of 11th edition. This is how it would be handled.
Yeah, and so that is like keyworded as fortify, and there's a bunch of other fortifications.
Yeah, which we should actually mention. Fortifications is one of the other additions to Horde Mode. So there are a bunch of fortify resupplies. One of them, for example, emergency shovel stash.
Hell yeah, we gotta choose that one.
It's Bricky's favorite. It is no longer a meme lord fort. I tried to de-meme it a little, just a bit. This one, you place a shovel marker on a non-fortified objective. It is now a war trench, and it's fortified now, so you can't put 5 different fortify markers on one objective. And the effect of this one is friendly models melee attacks have +1 strength and +1 AP if they are wholly within the range of a war trench.
It's honestly pretty cool because like there are a bunch. I don't know, there's like 6 or something like that, fortify resupplies, and they do different things, which are quite fun.
Yeah, but there is full rules in the Horde Mode rules for fortifying an objective. Like I get into the minutia legalese of 11th edition core rules should you need it. But it's basically just you place a marker on an objective. It is now named this and has this extra ability for stuff that's on it.
Yeah, there's several other styles to the resupplies. One that I do want to make sure to bring up is Tempt Fate. For 4SP, you reveal a secondary mission, resolve each secondary mission separately. Their rewards and punishments stack, but no more than 2 can be active in any round. So double up. Maybe you get a bunch of benefits from doing your secondary missions correctly, or maybe you don't.
Yeah, and general advice from having played a bunch of Horde Mode, Tempt Fate is the most important thing on this table. Tempt Fate gets used a lot when you get good at Horde Mode because doing 2 missions and getting 2 different rewards every single battle round stacks up quick.
That is true. There is risk though.
Hey, what's a little risk between friends? We're here to play some co-op. You ever play Helldivers and at the end of it you're like, man, that was boring. Nothing risky happened.
No.
Yeah, exactly. You tempt fate. You do it every time.
That's probably why there's another line to there that I didn't read, but I guess it does make a lot of sense. This option may only be purchased once per turn.
Yeah, just in case, because people were trying to interpret it as they could keep using it to swap out ones they didn't want. No. This is to spawn a second one.
Yeah, and there's a couple others that are, messing with secondary missions. Did we bring up supply tag?
No, but the supply tag is basically used because certain things affect those. The tags can be played with. So for instance, there is a misery card called Comms Jammed. This one is painful. Players cannot use stratagems or spend command points.
Which is pretty tough already.
Yeah. Then it really hurts with players cannot make supply, spawn, or strike purchases.
That's a lot of the table.
It is a lot of the resupply table. So tags get used in that way so that other stuff can interact with them.
Yeah, I guess before we fully jump into talking about like the misery deck, do you want to explain field promotion?
Yeah, we should. This is the most complicated one from an actual doing it standpoint. So through the power of having video footage, we can show an example. So in our game last weekend, we had Eric use field promotion. Field promotion destroys a unit you own that is unengaged. So Eric chose 3 Purgation Squad guys who were left, right?
Yeah.
So 3 Purgation Squad guys get picked. You now look up the spawning bracket for the destroyed unit. If multiple sizes of the unit exist, you select the smallest size that the current unit would fit in. So like if it could go to a 10-man, you're still using the 5 bracket. Now roll 1d6 and add the minimum value of the bracket for that unit on the spawn table that you found. In this example, Purgation Squad is 5 to 6. So 5, we roll a die, we get another 5, so it goes to 10. So on Eric's Grey Knight table, he can look for anything in that bracket. In this case, Eric picked Paladins with a leader. So we did a librarian leading Paladins. But when you place the replacement unit down in the position of the destroyed unit, you are only allowed to place the same number of models maximum. So he could have placed 1 Dread Knight, or he can place up to 2 Paladins and a librarian.
And I mean, I think that caveat is an important thing to like pay attention to. It really is like field promotion type thing. So you're not like getting a unit back. It's just upgrading into something.
It's these dudes, they got promoted into better power armor in this case. Sometimes you get promoted into a dreadnought, also known as the Forever Box.
Yeah. It is a potential possibility. But yeah, it is definitely quite a useful resupply to have available, especially because it is a variable amount of supply points. So like sometimes you might want to use those supply points and not bank them for reasons. But you can definitely scroll through the tables that we've been talking about. There's several for each of the tables. Let's take a look at the misery deck a little bit though.
All right, so the misery deck is our main antagonist of this story.
It's definitely got some basic effects.
Yes, many of these have been updated for 11th edition wordings and using 11th edition tech. Death Denied used to be a little bit complicated. Now it just reads, each Horde unit heals 13 wounds.
Hell yeah. Heal is a very nice keyword that we've gotten.
It is lovely. One of my favorite parts tech-wise in rules writing. There's all sorts of them in here. A couple were rebalanced to make some of them better, worse, I guess would be another way to say it, more painful.
Yeah.
And a single nerf to Untouchable. It is no longer a 3-up invulnerable save. It is a 4-up invulnerable save unless it already had a 4-up invulnerable save, in which case improve the invulnerable save by 1. So you still get a 3-up invulnerable save in some scenarios, but it's not army-wide this time.
Yeah, 3-up was.
It tended to be the strongest misery card by a long shot in most scenarios.
It definitely also slowed the game down a lot. Kind of boring at that point. But like there's simple things like Rip and Tear as Horde unit attacks have +1 AP.
We've got some fun ones now. Danger Close is a new one. Horde units ranged attacks have Blast 1. Horde units melee attacks have Cleave 1.
Hell yeah. I mean, similar new ones, Surging Power. Horde units have +1 strength and Psychic. Psychic actually matters now.
I know, I literally wrote that one specifically to celebrate Psychic existing.
It's good.
It's not just a downside.
But not everything is like buffing the Horde. Some things just make the players worse.
Yeah, you can either get ones that are like meta debuff, I guess you could say, like Bad Investment. Remove 5 supply points from all players.
Yeah, I mean, the similar thing of Seller's Market, the SP cost of all purchases is doubled. And another that's like meta, Lamentable Luck. Reveal 2 more misery cards. That one can be backbreaking.
And then there's the like direct nerfs. Terrifying Shockwave. Much worse in 11th edition. All players' battle shock rolls automatically fail.
Honestly, can be a problem in 11th edition. A new one, Flash Flood. Player units have -2 to movement to a minimum of 4 inches and subtract 2 from advance and charge rolls.
And then there's the ones that are like more game oriented. So these ones tend to like alter the battlefield in some way. So like nowhere is safe. Destroy all objectives in the defender's deployment zone.
Yeah, that's pretty annoying. I mean, there's also ones that are like Destroy Orbital Bombardment. I love this one. And I think I brought it up every time we talk Horde mode. I bring this one up because it's just so cool.
I reviewed our previous Horde mode episodes and I will confirm that every one Eric is on, he has specifically brought up Stray Orbital He has specifically brought up straight orbital bombardment.
It's just so cool.
Luckily, because we have a video camera now, we're actually able to help show off how straight orbital bombardment works, since some people got confused by it before.
So you split the battlefield evenly into a 2x3 grid, assign each area a different number from 1 to 6, roll 1d6, and each unit within the rolled area suffers 2d3 mortal wounds. So it's just random zone on the board just gets blown to smithereens. It's great. It's so cool. And it can be very terrible.
Unfortunately, in our example, did not do that much.
Yes, it can be very terrible in the like it's actually just didn't do anything, or it can be very terrible in like no, it just ruined like 6 units.
Yeah, so in our game that we played on Saturday, it ended up only hitting Scarbrand and a Dreadnought.
Which is still good fun.
It's fine. It was something, but there were parts of the board where if it had landed there, it would have done so much damage.
It's another one of those like fun misery deck cards that are not just like, oh, add this keyword, or oh, your units have this that they can't do kind of thing. It's like random amount of damage is going to blow somebody up. It's fun. It's exciting.
This is like a game design note, but when they're static and affect the whole battle round, they tend to be simpler. And then when they're an instant thing you just do, we can make them a bit flashier and make them be an event.
Because you don't have to like pay attention to it after you did the thing.
Yeah, you're not doing this like every 20 seconds over the course of the turn.
Because like honestly, round 5, when you have 3 misery cards, can be kind of annoying to keep in mind of like all the stacking effects if they have a bunch of buffs and you have nerfs, and it's like, okay, what actually happened? But luckily that's only like 1 round kind of thing, so it works out.
At the same time, if you fail a secondary, which happens especially if you are constantly trying to spawn a second one.
Yeah, if you're tempting that fate.
Yeah, but if you get like a +2 misery card turn on turn 3 or whatever, it can be rough, especially like keeping track of stuff of like they have sustained hit 1, lethal hits 1, precision, ignore cover, and +1 strength and psychic, and whatever's on their data sheet.
It can be a lot, but it's usually not that bad. And even when it does stack, it's not too bad just because like the Horde has its simplistic AI, so you don't really have to think about too much.
Yeah, and that's why not all of them are just stat increases for the Horde. Some of them are an event occurs so that it's instant, or it does a meta thing to the table so that you can't buy certain resupplies, stuff like that.
Again, there's a lot more. Take a look through the table, but I think we've got secondary missions to talk about.
Yeah, so these are the main thing that you fail and cause more miseries to happen. They're also the main way you're getting supply points, and they can have really cool other effects. I think every time we've done this episode, I've used the exact same basic one to start with. Back to basics. This one is probably the simplest one. Keep a tally X of how many Horde units are destroyed this battle round after the Horde is spawned and you have revealed this mission. X must be greater than 0 is the condition. So basically just destroy at least 1 unit.
That's usually pretty easy, but I mean, that does mean that why is it an X instead of just 1?
So in this case, the reward gives you X plus 1 SP to the entire team. So if you destroy 3 units, then you get 4 supply points to the whole team.
Which is, I mean, a pretty good amount. We've seen some pretty strong resupply options. What's the punishment if for somehow you were not able to kill something?
If you somehow screw this up and fail your condition, you get +2 misery cards next turn. Do not fail this.
I think some of the ones that are like easier to accomplish have a more difficult punishment.
Yes. Sometimes punishments are thematic to what the secondary itself is. Sometimes the rewards are thematic to the secondary. So for example, establish orbital comms, which now uses awesome 11th edition action tech.
Yeah.
But basically an infantry or character unit wholly within 6 of the center of the battlefield does an objective to meet the condition. They establish orbital comms. If you do it right and your condition is met, then you get a reward that's thematic. One at a time, each player without a revealed secondary objective immediately uses a change of plans, which again on the supply table was the get to draw your extra secret objectives and pick one of the ones to keep. It lets you check that you want to stick with your secret mission, or if you're like, you know what, this secret objective is too hard, I found one that's a lot easier or whatever. And in lore, this is you've established orbital comms, you can talk to high command and they give you an updated mission that you can pick from.
Yeah, and sometimes they can also be be like, I don't want to do this trader one.
Yeah, it could be that simple. Or it's this trader one sounds really funny though, so I'll do this instead.
Yeah, of course you would bring up that as the option. That is true.
But it has a very thematic fail case. Should you fail to establish orbital comms, your punishment is one at a time, each player without a revealed secret objective immediately uses a change of plans. But they do not choose a card, and instead they select one at random.
Oh, it's so good.
Now you just have a random new mission that you just found out about halfway through the game. Uh-oh.
That is true. Which it shouldn't be that difficult to succeed for some of these. But there are a lot that you can fail, especially depending on what, turn you get it and what the board state's looking like. So use it or lose it. Keep a tally X of how much SP is spent during the battle round after revealing this card. The tally must be at least 7 at the end of the battle round. And then there's caveat for when it's drawn type thing. The success is roll a d6. On a 4-up, give X SP to a random player, otherwise 3 SP to a random player. And if you fail it, it's minus 3 SP and plus 1 misery card. This doesn't seem too difficult unless you happen to randomly get a misery that removes all of your SP.
Yes, there's quite a few that are like, oh, come on, how could I fail this? Like, don't be battle shocked this turn, until you draw it on the turn where it's all player battle shocks are automatically failed.
Yeah.
There are moments that can occur that will drastically swing the game because of random chance. But that's the fun emergent gameplay of like, we thought we had everything under control, we flip a pair of cards, and now everything has gone south at once.
Yeah, and there are a decent number of actions for these missions.
Yes, 1/3 of them exactly, by the way, and that is on purpose. For a little look behind the scenes, from a game design standpoint, actions are very useful because they cause friction between your players doing what they want to be doing of just blowing everything up and having to balance it with achieving an objective.
Yeah.
So yes, actions are a key part of secondaries, and Horde Mode expects you to have to do some actions over the course of the game.
Yeah, which, I mean, like, a lot of them are generally pretty easy. It's just trying to figure out, like, how you're gonna do it, essentially, and who's gonna be the one to do the boring thing.
Or multiple people having to work together to do one of them, because action tech in 11th is awesome. So we can actually require people to work together to complete an action. So for example, stabilize warp beacons. It starts at your shooting phase. The units required for this is 3 or 4 units wholly within different table quarters, more than 6 inches away from center of battlefield. But importantly, in the rules, we explain that you can have 2 of my units and 1 of Eric's units be selected because we are all on the player team. The use limit is once per turn, completes at the end of turn, and then the effect for it is for each unit that completed the action, roll a d6, add 1 to the roll if 4 of them completed the action. On a roll of 1 or 2, destroy the unit. Then the condition of the secondary is met. This is a painful one to complete because it risks the units that do the action. So this causes me and you and whoever else is playing to argue about, hey, I really don't want my warlord to have to do this action. Or, hey, we need to make sure that we do 4 and not 3 because I would like the +1, so I only have a 1 in 6 chance of exploding setting up the warp beacon.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there's an amount of let's make sure that it's 4. If I'm gonna risk these, you're also risking.
Yeah, but this is a great one because like there might be cases where some people who are required for this go, let's just fail this. I'll take +2 misery cards and not risk my unit instantly getting deleted. And then you flip misery cards that are horrifying and your unit gets deleted, and so did several others.
I was like, it's almost certainly the wrong choice to do that, but at the time
it sounded like the right choice.
And I mean, if your secret objective is a trader one, it could still be the right choice. But yeah, there are a lot of cool options in the secondary missions. There's some like honestly pretty basic ones, but that's a good thing sometimes when you draw some of those that are just like, yeah, you just try and kill stuff. Like, okay, I got it. Yeah, so like all these tables, take a look through them. There's some fun stuff. I think honestly you did a pretty good job throughout all of these tables naming things pretty decently so that like there is a narrative aspect to it of, okay, it's got this name, it does this effect, it might have this downside or, this bonus, whatever, that like it's trying to tell a story.
Yes, a good amount of them are either a serious attempt to like make something that makes sense lore-wise, or it's a funny riff. Like, we did Action Hero. His action is put on sunglasses. Why? Because 80s action movie.
Yeah.
You're playing 40K. This is the vibe.
There is definitely an amount of make sure it's cool. I mean, there's a mission, I'm pretty sure it's a secondary mission that's tactical. Like, had fun with it while still making it thematic.
The Horde faction rules, about half of them are serious, like just trying to give them like an edgelordy 40K name, and the other half are just stupid because it's funny. Grey Knights.
Yeah, Grey Knights. I was gonna go with Death Guards, Don't You Miss DR.
Yeah, Death Guard has Don't You Miss DR. Grey Knights have Poor Hammers. But then we've got like more serious ones like Wanton Slaughter, Passive Ion Shields, Shadow Forms.
High Green Tide. Very serious. Please understand.
Chaos Knights, God, I wish we had a different theme. That's my favorite name. But like, it's like a 50-50 mix. Sometimes it's just for the joke that's more a community level joke, and other times it is trying to give you a serious 40K like name.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's kind of gone through it. I mean, we didn't go through like all the rules. Maybe we spent a bit too much time on some of them.
That's what an editor is for, Eric.
That is what an editor is for.
He worked hard on this episode, by the way. We are recording this very late at night, and I am having trouble making coherent sentences. Give Berilio a round of applause in the comments this week, everybody.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, though, a couple reminders. One, Horde Mode is open to the community. There is a Discord. There should be a link. Take a look at it. All of the like tables and rules are available. Hopefully there's an easy access PDF.
They are digital and free, as all rules for your game should be.
Because it is a community thing, there's also a bunch of add-ons that the community have created and made available. So on the Discord for Horde Mode, you can see a bunch of those.
For an example, in the Horde Mode rule directory, when you go there, there is an example add-on that I made that is called Hard Mode. It basically just modifies the game slightly to make it harder. This is because a lot of more experienced play groups who played this have previously said, hey, I love the mode, but our group is just too good. How can you stop us? So Hard Mode is an extra set of rules on top, and modify a couple rules to make it a bit harder for groups that are more serious, who need extra weight on their shoulders so that they have to carry harder. But yeah, there's all sorts of other add-ons that have been made by the community or community modified modes. Shout out to Twin Cities, Age of Sigmar Horde Mode. This is the most complete version anyone has managed to cobble together for AOS 4th edition Horde Mode. I don't think it's 100%, but it's really good. And considering you will not be getting a 4th edition one from me, there you go. Just so you know, 5th edition is like less than a year away at this point. It's a lot of work just doing the 40K side of things. So shout out to the community members who managed to get an AOS version of Horde Mode up and running for the most part.
Another reminder, if you want to watch Horde Mode being played, Slam Sector have said that they're going to play it live on July 13th. So definitely take a look. They do a great job of actually showing the game. Such an amazing thing whenever I see these live battle reports.
And Jordan does crazy good UI stuff for their overlays and everything. Like literally, shout out again, Jordan did the PDF for Horde Mode's rules and the cards that are hopefully done when this airs, or this will be real embarrassing, won't it, Jordan?
I've been trying not to be like, oh, it's definitely going to happen.
It's going to be real funny if it didn't. And you get Berilio's awful, ugly D&D one he threw together. Dear God, I hope that's not what we're launching with.
It's not great.
Dungeons & Dragons, the worst looking rule set to ever be put to print. Wow. We hired graphic designers, and then we fired them and hired a chimp.
This is another fucking Lord of the Rings thing, isn't it? I'm going to have to be careful when looking at the P.O. box.
Puke green on piss yellow. My favorite.
I am actually with you on this one, though. It's pretty terrible.
D&D has the ugliest choices on their docs anyway. As an extra reminder, before we get into our patrons who are so awesome, if you're like, man, Horde Mode is awesome, but it's free and I wish I could pay for it. You can't. It's free. But you could support the show in general and become a patron. And for our patrons, I will remind you, all of our paying patrons have access to a sweet STL file for a supply point coin that was made by an awesome patron, Josh Hardy. Huge shout out. Thank you so much once again. All of our patrons have access to that if they want to print off some cool like supply point coins. We've got a set of them that we printed ourselves. Very fun to use. Probably saw at least one of them in some video footage.
Yeah, we'll try and have a link to that particular post, but it is for patrons on patreon.com. patreon.com/SullySingleton.
That one's paywalled. Sorry, guys. But speaking of our patrons, did you know, Eric, that you could go to patreon.com/SullySingleton and join great patrons like Ark in supporting the show?
I did know, but did you know that we have patrons that are so awesome that we shout them out every month?
Oh, we got to pause on the first name here. Shout out to patrons who do useful stuff in these credits. 3-1 Tamiya clear blue and green over silver metallic base coat. This is because people were asking how to make my Alpha Legion a lot in the comments last week, and I answered a couple times. But technically my ratio is 7-2, not 3-1. It really does look different.
That's probably close enough.
I'm just saying, like, just so you know, mine is actually 7-2, but it's very close. But like, if you're like, this is slightly too blue or slightly too green, just modify your ratio till you like it, and you're going to end up on 7-2.
6 Rogel Dorns, 234 dice, 1 shooting phase, 0 friends.
Funny joke here.
The sweet scent of St. Celestine's sweaty socks.
Absolute Chad.
A Dachshund.
Adrian Franca.
Alice Jeans.
Amdragon.
A Mists.
Andreas.
Angry Zellers won't watch the stream until Rad Red.
Annika is proud of Brad for painting the Baneblade. What?
Fake news. Another fucking Space Marines detachment.
Army builder of AOS and Legos. Rip my wallet.
Oof. Ave Dominus Nuts.
Biggs the Purple Necron.
Black Mist Gorgon.
Blubbles 180.
Bob Loblaw's Law Blog.
Bob Myers.
Bob Kerr.
Boosted Seat.
Brad's wife's boyfriend, the Tao Pathfinder Jenkins.
Brad said my name was too long.
Brad's busty body pillow.
Brad's favorite lieutenant.
Buy Berilio's dogs. Feed the merch. I was like, what the fuck? No, that makes sense. That's funny. Okay.
Calls caller ID.
Can you dig it?
Canucke.
Carnuvax.
Chad the Frog.
Christopher Gargliano.
Chromavale.
Combusting Pigs.
Connor King.
And consult your doctor for a Belisarius colonoscopy. We're going to be splitting these up into 4 sections now. We'll see how this goes. I asked, people seemed like they were okay with it. So next week you'll get the second, fourth.
C's through J's next week. Very exciting. It's like being in 4th grade again. All right, but thank you to all of our patrons. You keep the show running.
We also have producers.
They are Ethereum but on deployment.
Ava, Tech Priestess.
Billy the Git.
Brad, Eric, still scared of women.
Breaking news, 480 Custodian Guard.
C5 Dynamite.
Certified Pegstar.
Charles Lang.
Corvus.
Demolition Man.
Dolphin Caviar.
Gilgamesh Versus.
Is it me or do the 1-point detachments feel too safe?
Just me again down here.
Kiwi Fruit Bird.
La Bloop Bloop.
Loaf of Disappointment.
NJ Harlan.
Pizza 00100.
Robohop.
Sam Brown.
Scott the Jim Crab, Mr. Festastic.
Oh no, I got it now.
Haha.
Skjord Odinson.
The Discord is not a police state. The police.
The fucking God Emperor of mankind.
The Lash demands a raise for blah 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 blah.
You should know how to say that name by this point, dude.
The Lash demands a raise for Berilio.
The Ta'al Fire Warrior who's learning to shoot.
Team Merch we didn't mention. And on that note,
Victorian Batman.
War Game Simulator.
And we're all dogs in God's hot car. I hate that.
Thank you so much for supporting the show.
And thanks again to all of our patrons for keeping the lights on around here. As the credits play for a moment, just so everyone knows, we're recording this a bit too early to announce who the winners of the giveaway are. We're actually doing that like 2 days after we record this. Next week, find out who won, and we'll tell you what you can win next month. Now let's get out of here, Eric.
Sounds good.